This is Conversations with Women in Sales, an award-winning podcast created by Barbara Giamanco, who hosted the first 67 episodes. Listen to interviews with amazing women about their journeys in their sales careers, often discussing sales leadership tips, ideas, and strategies. We aim to inspire women to consider a sales career and for some women to grow into sales leadership. Men, we appreciate your allyship. And now, your host, Lori Richardson.
Thank you to our sponsor, Scalibrium. Scalibrium just added a methodology-agnostic module to their existing coaching platform to improve the effectiveness of your sales and go-to-market teams. This includes out-of-the-box templates and frameworks, enhancing collaboration and driving better outcomes. See what all the excitement is about at scalibrium.com.
I'm here today with Sara Storm, and Sara and I have been going back and forth for a while, so I'm really glad to have you on this episode, Sara. We first started talking because you were raising money to help support women, and I wonder if you would share a little bit about that and the companies that you're running and your background. You have 20 years background in sales.
Yes, and so happy to be here. No, but so the campaign we were running were to support the women in workplaces as a manager, how to work with culture and things like that to support women in workforce. And then we also did a campaign related to that where we helped raise money for schools in Kenya to support girls to go to school at a young age. But background-wise, I've been working in sales. It feels like my entire professional career, like my entire life. I'm so nerdy with the topic. And I have been doing basically everything from individual contributor roles, so SDR, BDR, sales account, executive, etc., all the way up to VP and CRO. And now I run company. So one company is Skill, which is a platform, a training platform, subscription-based, to train both soft and hard skills. So professional development and personal development, because I fully believe in that we are a full person. We are not just our job. Right. We have things that normal training platforms are not supplying us with when it comes to soft skills and how to manage your life and your different diagnosis and all we're going through, right? And it's very heavy on the sales side right now because we have plenty of sales trainers on there. So it's micro format courses, super easy to digest, and the new way of training. So that's one of the companies that I'm running. And the other company is Break the Box. And Break the Box is a company that is sales consultant. So we fix revenue problems, right? Yeah. For primarily companies who are fast growing, who needs to very quickly deliver to their board. Yeah. There are plenty of companies. And I've done it with my co-founder and partner, George, who's also been in sales for just as long as I have. The discussions around the dinner table at home, you can imagine so many thousands of hours of they just topic. Yeah. And yeah, so that's a bit about me.
What are some of the things you sold in your career?
So I started selling gym memberships, very basically and consumer. And I very quickly got bored of that type of sales because it's so simplistic. And I moved over there probably 14 years ago now. And I have been selling a lot of software. So CRM software, lead generation software, chatbot software, prospecting software. So a lot of the software that I've been selling has been mainly related to sales jobs and sales professions, right? Because since that's an interest of mine and I'm also technically nerdy, these two combine very well to be a salesperson type of product.
Did you know about business to business selling? And what did you think when you shifted to this area where basically in some roles you can have unlimited income or at least a big salary, sometimes more than the president or CEO of a company? Did that hit you, or what's that like?
I think for me, I grew up very poor. So I grew up in a household where food was scarcity. And when I got into sales, my first job when I was selling to consumer, I made a salary of, I think, 10,000 euros, if I'm going to translate. And I was looking at my paycheck and I was just like, what is this? Because it was basically only commission. So 1,000 of that was fixed salary and the rest was commission. And I was blown away by the fact that I will never have to be hungry again. Because there's a driving force there why you get into sales. but I never realized how much that would mean to me until I got it. And then it got to be everyday life. And then I stopped thinking about it. So I think that the process of understanding that I can now control my life, and I came from no college education. I had no formal education besides the normal school years that you do as a kid. And being able to make that much money in my first job was amazing to me, because it led me to have my destiny in my own hand, right? And then moving to business, then it actually, that part, I was used to that part already at that point.
Yeah.
So the fact that sales profession where you can make so much money didn't really change my perspective. What changed my perspective was the people in the business sphere, the coworkers I had, the people I was working with, and why a certain profile was very representative there, right? So that was a sort of a shift for me, because when I sold to consumers, we were plenty of women in that group who were selling together. We had a 50-50 split approximately, and then business sales, and then suddenly I was the only woman on the floor.
Yeah.
So that was a very sharp difference.
Very eye-opening. Yeah. I just had Gabrielle Blackwell on the podcast, and we were talking about toxic behaviors and just toxic environments in not just sales, but corporate in general. And especially for sometimes for women, some of the things that we have to go through. And she spoke as a Black woman as well. And I just wonder, I don't want to make this a theme or a downer of an episode, and I don't want people to think this is our new direction for the podcast, but it's come up recently that a lot of women are leaving corporate, and a lot are in sales roles or sales. And the women I've talked to just say, I'm just done. Like, I don't need to be in a boys' club or have to put up with what feels like abuse. I have that phrase, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated, because nobody wants to be in that environment. So you have some things to add and share about that.
Yes. And I think that this is an important topic, because we are, at least I see more and more women in tech. If you look back 10 years, there is a big difference. Like, women are coaching market in a very high velocity now. And I feel like there is our responsibility as senior people who've been in this industry for a while to give some thought process to help you when you're in that situation. So one of the things that I have learned, because I internalized a lot of boys club culture in the beginning, and I, for years, actually literally said to friends that I like it when girls talk. I know if dudes are simpler to communicate. It's straightforward. There's no bullshit. And I perpetuated that idea about how men versus female or versus women are. And I internalized it because I was the only person on the floor who was a woman. So to be able to survive there and not feel horrible every time I came home, I had to make mental shift to accept the environment I was in, and to the point also embrace. And this was and I've had plenty of conversations both with my husband about this, also been in sales, I've seen a lot of this from his perspective as a manager, and also with friends, now that I got to a point where I realized this happened now, what do I do to change this? And when I started coming more into myself again, instead of stepping into the role that I walked to fit into that environment, suddenly I started getting the backlash that meant, right? Because if you conform, you won't be met with as much we tolerate you. You will be celebrated because you're joining the culture and you're behaving like everyone else around you.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier on a day-to-day basis. But the challenges with that comes with how you see yourself. Because internalizing that way of looking at women in professional careers, whatever role it is very harmful to yourself if you are a woman. It's very, very bad. Right. So one of the things that I would like junior women salespeople or women in corporate roles to be aware of is that this will happen before you know it. It will happen on its own in your mind. So you need to be super vigilant with your own mindset about it. And you need to also actively work against the culture that you have, even though you will get backlash. Because when you come home, you will feel better when you look in the mirror than you did if you would have been quiet. And I have so many stories about this. There's so much things going on in the first career that is insane to me that it's allowed to continue. So I was at a company a couple of years ago, And we had a whole new group of salespeople being onboarded, right? So they were completely junior, coming out of college or university, and they were going into the first 2 weeks of onboarding. And I am participating because I'm one of the trainers, because I'm working as a behind-the-scenes enabler for many different departments at the point. And we are all sitting around the table, all of the junior salespeople, and they have their computers in front of them, and they're having a session on how to do a great demo, right? How to demo a product in the best way. And one of the few women in the group raised their hand, like we do. We stopped doing that. We should just start talking, by the way. Raised her hand and said, but what is your main tip for how to make a demo great? Speaking to the senior management leader who was standing to train them. And he goes up to her and does this with the computer. Yeah. And then everyone laughed besides me and two of the women in the room. And I threw a hissy. Like I was so angry. But she wouldn't have said, if I wouldn't have been in the room, no one would have addressed. Right. Because there is no way you as a junior person can stand up in that situation because you don't feel that confident. And I fully understand, like fully. But the fact that this still happens and we're in this, 2022, 2021, it feels sad.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you said something, because I know some people will say you should tell the person outside of the meeting, but you have a whole room of people waiting to see. And if you don't say anything, you're complicit. Right?
Yes.
Saying, oh, that's so funny. And I was in a situation, I was just talking with a friend of mine about this, where she gave a presentation a number of years ago with a man, and they were going back and forth with the PowerPoint. He had the PowerPoint slides last, and he asked a very inappropriate slide at the end. And and then during the presentation, she hadn't seen it, and then he showed it at the end. It was totally disgusting and inappropriate, and people laughed, and he was so mad. And I know what you're saying. It's like, why does this persist? And this is why we lose people, because they're just going, you know what, I don't need this. I can run my own company. It's so easy to start a business now, be a fractional CRO, whatever, fractional rep of some sort. And people don't need that. So I'm telling people in corporate roles that you need to really think this through, and you really need to think about how your managers are acting and what you're going to do when something like this happens.
Yeah. And I think that I have a very clear viewpoint on what to do when something like this happens. My husband, who is a man, obviously, have a very clear view of how to do in this situation. And we have the same view. So you speak up. But you do it in a very clear way. So you just say, explain the funny. And you're silent and you look serious. Just explain the funny. Because when a person who does something like that is being confronted with that, there is nothing they can say. They will start mumbling. And that's a very good way of showing that it's not an appropriate behavior. And if you do this often enough, more people in your company will start doing it. So even if it hurts us emotionally that we always have to be the bearers of the change, we do. If more men did what my husband did, he had a sales team and he ran a sales team in enterprise for a long time. They were 50-50, 50% women, 50% men, because he recruited to always be 50-50. And when the people he found were the best in him, they were so good. This has nothing to do with gender, how good you are in this. There are actually studies showing that women are actually more suited for sales than men are, but that's a different conversation for my next book that I will launch. But when it comes to how to speak up about things, that is the whole point. We have to speak up. But speaking up can be very uncomfortable. So when you ask, and that you don't understand the funny, and you ask, so can you explain how this was funny? The whole energy in the room will shift.
Right.
Because you didn't blame them for anything. You didn't accuse them of anything. You just asked a question. Yeah. And this is something most women and men can do. Because play down. What is funny? I don't understand. I'm autistic. I don't know. Just tell me what you mean. Yeah. Tell me the funny. And they have no answer to why that's funny. It's the same with managers. I don't know how many times I've heard it. But you know how women are. Talking to one of my managers, talking to one of the other male coworkers, you know how women are. And my husband's response to that is, no, tell me, how are women? Yeah, tell me.
Yeah.
And this is very small thing that we can all do. But the best way of evaluating where you are, I would say, would be before you go into role. And this is the thing for everyone who's looking to change jobs, because a lot of things are happening in the world. A lot of people are being let go of or on layoffs, searching for new jobs. So do a backdoor reference. This is what I do every time I quit job. Now I don't have to anymore because of my own company, but what I did before. So I backdoored reference a person, a team member in the team of the manager that I would be reporting to, who was a woman. And I connected on LinkedIn with her and I said, hey, look, I am considering, can you tell me about culture? Like, can you, women to woman, just tell me. And I have avoided several jobs by doing this.
Yeah.
Because if this does not sound great, I will help you get a new job too. So we should not be here. And it's a good way to make sure that you don't end up there. And when you are there, and it sounds so harsh to say this in today's financial situation, but when you are there, someone who can help you along the way, just move.
Yeah.
This is the same as a bad relationship. When it's not working, leave.
Yeah. I believe that if you're strong in sales and you're female, you have many options for great opportunities, and you just need to reach out and ask more people. And people ask me periodically, and I connect them to people I know. I don't place people or anything, but I hear a lot about what's going on out there and who's hiring. So I always encourage people to reach out. And there's some great groups that are online for women in sales, like the group Women in Sales that Alexine Maplefur runs. They have job boards, and there's a lot of resources for women in that way. So really good tips, really good tips. Okay, tell us about your book.
Yes. So the book is called Sales, a Complete SDR Playbook. And indicated by the name, this is a business development rep or sales development rep type book. But inside the book, I also address a lot of the things that you will have a lot of benefit from knowing as an AA. So my next book will be more focused on the account executive role. But this book is mainly me trying to bring my wisdom to the table when it comes to all the things I've learned about working in the SDR role, because I both manage SDR teams and I have been an SDR for plenty of years myself, because I love that part of the funnel so much. I think it's so much fun. And all of the things in the book are very much related to things that normal leaders won't teach you. So we are talking a lot in the book about how to fully understand the customer, not because you will sell more, but because you will learn more while you do it. And how do you approach a learning topic versus, I need to do this to sell? You have a bit more engagement when you're trying to become an industry expert on something. So a lot of the things that I have learned how to do it, how to communicate in a way that is very tailor-made, right? And I believe that this is true for all messaging that we're doing. If we're selling enterprise, if we're selling to the mid-sized market, if we're selling to consumers, it's all about what we say and how tailored it is for you to feel like you're talking individually to me and my issue. And I also share a lot of stories about how I have grown my own skills in sales, because I've had leaders who haven't been as available to me as I would have wanted them to be. So I have been very much reading in my chamber, YouTubing, and taking courses online and talking to people and trying to understand how to push myself. Because when you're in a situation where you're the top booker or the top salesperson month after month after month in a company that you're hired in, there is nowhere to go. Like, how will I get inspired to move? Right. What I've always done is to compete with myself, because my surroundings have never been right. Because my surroundings have never been right.
Have you ever had a spiff for yourself?
No.
Spiff, so that if I achieve something, then I would win something. And
reward. Yeah, gamification, 100%. Yes, I've done that. I've had what it means to do a specific percentage of quota, to exceed a specific percentage of quota, or when I did a discovery meeting according to a new framework that I built myself and how well that went versus the framework I got from my managers, etc. Yes, I've done that a lot because that's the celebration. I have celebrated mainly the steps that will take me to the budget, the steps to make them really good, right?
Yeah.
And I also share a little bit about how I see what skills you need or what innate things you need to become really good at. So being good at training yourself or learning new things is super important, whatever sales role you're in. When you become stagnant and you're sitting on, I know how to do all of these things, it doesn't really, you don't grow anymore, right? And I also talk about the use of buyer personas and ICP or either customer profiles to fully understand and be much more industry specific and buyer persona or decision maker specific. So this is basically a guide to just become a lot better at what you're doing now by doing each step smarter and with a lot more empathy for the people you're trying to talk to. Because that's the thing I feel is missing in sales a lot. We don't empathize really with our prospects when we're working SDRs because all our managers telling us is to book more meetings. They're not talking high quality meetings. They're not talking about creating a really good relationship with the person you're booking the meeting with. Right. They're not talking about pre-education of the prospect. Like these things are not relevant. You just need to call more. Yeah. And we're still having that conversation.
It's ridiculous.
Yes, since the buyer very much not where they were 20 years ago, the strategies that we had before doesn't work anymore because we have a very harsh market when it comes to attention. And we need to guide and make experience for our prospects, even if it's just to book a meeting. Yeah. So a thought process that I've had with SDRs a lot when I've been talking to them is, how do you create an experience for each prospect that you're trying to book? So what can you do that is unique, but creates a feeling for them? Because this is about feeling. But create a feeling for them that they would like to talk to you. Because that's going to increase your hit rate. That's going to make sure that you get the bookings you need. And it will also help you qualify prospects shouldn't buy from you, which is you shouldn't book the meeting with them, even if they say yes, because they might not be a good fit. So there's so many good behavioral tweaks that you can do as an SDR. And I talked about all of the ones that I have found in the book.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, elevate.
Yeah, that's great. We'll post the link to it. I saw it on Amazon. I downloaded the Kindle version and I'm really excited about that. We need good books out there. So I appreciate that, Sara. Sara Storm, everybody. She's in Stockholm, Sweden, and the world through our LinkedIn conversations. I wish you continued success. Let us know what you're doing, and we will continue our conversations to work to get more women into this great profession that we love.
Yes, let's inspire.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sara.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Conversations with Women in Sales. You can find all of our episodes at womensalespros.com/podcast. Help us spread the word and let's change the face of B2B sales.